want to do it. And that's normal. All of us are like that. All of us wake up that day and we're like, man, I just really don't want to train. But show up, do a little more.
We get to see the maple trees, maple sugar and the maple leaves. We get the biggest wheat fields growing tall. In Canada, where we see the reversing falls. In Canada, we get to see them all.
Good day, eh?
Well, hey everyone, it's been a little while since I've uploaded a video, but boy, this is getting embarrassing. I've been watching a few stories and the Conservative Party keeps pandering to the Trump cacistocracy and threatens our sovereignty with ridiculous demands that even the voters didn't ask for. While they aspire to model their agenda on the failing MAGA, they throw themselves into the flames and get burnt each time. One example recently was the Toronto area Conservative MP Jamil Jivani, who FAFO'd after claiming that Canadians were losing opportunities with their anti-American hissy fit. The backbencher announced he was headed down to D.C. for a tete-a-tete with his old friend J.D. Vance, who he's known since college, to discuss tariffs and CUSMA, the trade agreement.
I'm going to Washington because I want to help Prime Minister Mark Carney be successful in negotiating a trade deal with the United States. Now, that might sound counterintuitive because I am a principled conservative. He is our Liberal Prime Minister. But the reality is that this is not a partisan issue.
Now, MPs often travel to other countries and meet with counterparts in different governments. Often they go as groups of sort of parliamentary trips. This, though, is a little bit unusual. Having a single MP go to the United States with no coordination from the federal government to represent himself, as speaking on behalf of Canada or Canadians, or at least his constituents, and trying to, smooth things over. But interesting note here, Jivani is a friend of the U.S. Vice President, J.D. Vance. They went to law school together at Yale and have stayed in touch over the years. Could that possibly open some doors in Washington, kind of help Canada's position along? If Jivani makes interventions with the Vice President himself, well, possibly, maybe not, because as we know, Donald Trump kind of doesn't listen to a lot of advice from anyone, including his Vice President. He seems to make up his mind on his own.
Jivani, who has no official role in the government trade negotiations, claims that he just wants to help Mark Carney be successful in the upcoming negotiations. Carney responded with his typical astute fashion, the media stunt that it really is, telling the press that, I think it may have to do with all of you guys.
Without a lot of inputs from others. So whether this will have any effect on the trade relationship with the United States, that is still a very open question.
We have extensive contacts with the U.S. administration, constant contacts with the U.S. administration. Minister LeBlanc gave a briefing to Mr. Jivani, who I don't believe is the trade critic for the opposition, certainly not the Minister of International Trade or the Prime Minister.
So what do you think he's doing?
I think it might have something to do with all of you.
And even Pipsqueak Polyev dissed the idea you're on your own.
Well, he speaks for himself, and I speak for the party. Canadians are legitimately upset by the unjustifiable tariffs and comments that the President has made. And, as the Prime Minister has said, nobody can control Donald Trump. As Mr. Harper said, we have to focus not on how the President's words and deeds make us feel, but on what we can do to adapt.
Well, afterwards, Jivani was reporting that his meeting with the White House and State Department officials were very productive, and told the media that the President asked me to pass along a message. Tell Canadians I love them. While at the same time, the demented diaper Don was threatening to cancel the opening of the Gordie Howe Bridge.
Oh my God, bro. Oh, hell no, man.
Little PP himself got through his leadership review in January, but he's still generally unpopular, and maybe it's because of weird stunts like this totally cringe exercise video he posted on Valentine's Day that gave off divorced dad vibes. A little less offensive version of whatever the fuck Kid Rock and RFK Jr. were doing in the spa.
I want to do it. And that's normal. All of us are like that. All of us wake up that day and we're like, man, I just really don't want to train. But show up, do a little more each day. But that focusing on that is comforting and focusing what happened. Just show up, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. And never give up.
And PP keeps losing members of his own party, too. A third Conservative MP just crossed the floor to join Carney's Liberals. Last November, Matt Genereux was being pressured by the caucus to when he withdrew his support for the Pipsqueak as leader, and he was threatened not to cross the floor. So he decided instead to resign to spend more time with his family. But last week at a press conference, he said that after he watched Carney's speech at Davos, he couldn't sit on the sidelines.
Quite honestly, it was the speech in Davos where you took everything head on, and I think for me that's where a lot of the world changed. I think it opened a lot of eyes for Canadians, Albertans, Edmontonians, just how serious this national meeting crisis truly is. And it's for me it felt disingenuous and quite simply wrong to be sitting on the sidelines anymore. So I reached out to the Prime Minister's office and will be joining his caucus.
And then there were three. Prime Minister Mark Carney was unsurprisingly all smiles today as he introduced a new member of his Liberal caucus. Alberta MP Matt Genereux is now the third Conservative to cross the floor in as many months, joining Chris D'Entremont in November and Michael Maw in December.
MAGA wench light Premier Danielle Smith of Alberta, who looks like Kristi Noem without the Botox, has been abusing her power and using the Trump playbook to bully and divide Canadians. She's calling for fiscal restraint while there's pressure on healthcare, education, and infrastructure. In the past year, Smith has used the possibly illegal notwithstanding clause to force teachers back to work that ended a historic strike when the Alberta Teachers Association was taking labor action on the crucial issues of class size and complexity, as well as salary. The province is suffering doctor shortages. Provincial measles advisory is now in effect. Calgary's main water pipes broke for the second time this winter, and still she has the nerve to point the blame at others. In her live address to Albertans last week, she gave a list of 9 items on the referendum for this October, which did not include the separation question. After failing to get enough signatures on the petition for that referendum question on separation, it's now been put to the side as she attacks the Constitution of Canada itself and immigration, especially immigration.
The office of Alberta's premier facing allegations of racism ahead of her TV address. Danielle Smith, widely expected to make an announcement about immigration and the budget. But a social media post from her executive director is drawing fierce condemnation. On Wednesday morning, Bruce McAllister claimed that Canada has unsustainable mass immigration before writing, quote, "Why import from nations with failed systems when our Judeo-Christian heritage and principles have worked so well here?" That drew condemnation from former NDP MLA Shannon Phillips and political strategists Zane Velji and Stephen Carter.
Are we shocked by this? Are we surprised?
I kind of am with that, man. Like, I'm reading this is his real account. I also wanted to make sure that I'm not. It's still up.
They're racists.
Like, I don't know, man.
It's okay to say it.
According to a new Angus Reid poll, the determined and decided opposition to separation vastly outpaces the sentiment on the other side. Fewer than 3 in 10, or 29% of Albertans, say they would vote for their province to leave Canada if there was a referendum now. On the other side, 2/3, 65%, say they would vote to stay. The larger proportion of that group are solidified in their vote. 57% definitely vote to stay. What seems clear is the provocative focus that Smith has now placed on non-permanent newcomers, specifically international students, temporary foreign workers, and asylum seekers, and what they deserve or don't deserve to receive. This is what we're talking about, making sure the services are prioritized to the people who have registered a permanent stake in our country and our province, she told reporters Friday. That's Canadian citizens and permanent residents, and temporary individuals should be treated as that, temporary and tourists. She's casting it in economic terms, but there's a long tradition of expansive debates about immigration becoming more loaded and volatile. According to CTV, the Forever Canadian participant at the legislature, Andrea Feasy of Forever Canadians, said she'd like to see the Forever Canadian petition become one of the top questions added to the Alberta government's referendum in October. Do we want to remain in Canada? The answer to the Forever Canada question is yes, we do. And they had well over the mandatory number of signatures, so that's the question, and the others, I think, are a distraction, she said. The Forever Canadian petition, which asked Albertans whether the province should stay part of Canada, was headed by Thomas Lukaszuk and approved by Elections Alberta as a potential referendum question in December. And Smith confirmed that the government may expand its October referendum to include any citizens' initiative petitions that meet the required signatures by their deadlines, and said her government would be forming a committee to determine whether the Forever Canadian petition would be on the ballot or put it to a vote in the legislature. Oh man, Danny's just pushing it around. Yeah. Mitch Silvestri, the proponent for a separatist group Stay Free Alberta, told CTV News Edmonton he would not be pleased should his own petition see the same fate. Our question is a constitutional question. You can't muddy our question up with 9 questions, he said. Jeffrey Rath, legal counselor for Stay Free Alberta, said Smith's referendum was undermining the independence movement. None of us believe what she's doing. We think she's gaslighting. We're not going to be happy if they try to bury a clean, standalone question on independence and a bunch of other silly what's next panel questions, he told CTV News. She's accomplishing the rarest of all political feats, which is to deliberately anger everybody on both sides of the issue equally. Other Albertans think the list of demands is just too complicated. They're unhelpful. And the NDP has called for her to just cut the bullshit and call an election already.
After watching the Premier's address last night, Alberta's NDP have this to say: cut the bullshit and call the election. Danielle Smith and the UCP did not campaign on 9 new referendum questions. They don't have a mandate from Albertans for this. Not on separatism, not on pulling out of the CPP, not on breaching the charter rights of thousands of Albertans, not on coal mining in the Eastern Slopes, and not on 2-tier healthcare. This reeks of desperation, and Albertans, well, we see right through this.
Just 2 years ago, Smith declared that her government looked forward optimistically to doubling the province's population to 10 million by 2050, and she also spent part of 2024 repeatedly musing that Red Deer, with its 106,000 residents, ought to swell to 1 million.
Oh, what an idiot!
NDP leader Panchotti reminds her that less than 2 years ago, Danielle Smith herself asked Justin Trudeau to increase immigration levels because Alberta wanted more than what Ottawa was already allocating. In 2024, she stated publicly that she wanted to double Alberta's population to 10 million people. She did all this without a single thought or plan for how to create the jobs, build the houses, the schools, and the hospitals that we already needed in the province. More non-permanent migrants moved out of Alberta than arrived, decreasing before any provincial interventions or referendums. Temporary foreign workers pay income tax to fund services, as do some visiting students with work visas and non-permanent refugees. However, even as tax-paying population grows and economy expands too, Alberta's deficits don't seem to be abating. Panchotti also challenged Smith to call a provincial election. Let Albertans judge her performance in the last 6 years under the UCP. It's all a massive distraction from the real things that Albertans expect their government to deliver: healthcare, education, cost of living, and good quality jobs, Panchotti added. And according to the APTN, the Confederacy of Treaty No. 6 First Nations, remain strongly opposed to Alberta's separation, arguing it's unconstitutional and violates treaties made directly with the Crown. A court decision in December 2025 affirmed that any separation referendum would breach Section 35 of the Constitution. This successful intervention in the courts by Treaty Number 6, Number 7, Number 8 First Nations is a victory for treaty rights and the inherent rights of all First Nations, the Confederacy said. The referendum will also ask Albertans if provincial governments, not Ottawa, would select justices for the provincial King's Bench and appeal courts. All of these reforms would need constitutional changes that have to be approved by 7 provinces with 50% of the population as well as in Parliament. And the immigration measures are not presented as constitutional, meaning the government could simply implement them after a referendum approval. The constitutional proposals will be much more difficult to achieve, but they will certainly draw attention from the separatist campaign, and that's the whole point. Oh, well, although the referendum doesn't currently contain the question of separation, it implies it could be. It's certainly always a threat, and they won't stop in their quest for independence fueled by greed and deregulation and privatization, like the states have, and big oil dollars, and boy, even the memorandum of understanding with Ottawa for provincial interprovincial pipelines didn't satisfy them. Just like MAGA, you can't deal with these bullies. They always find fault and demand more. And while Poilievre's caucus keeps shrinking, next month the NDP elects its new leader. Debates have begun, and even they have some factions fighting for participation. And the Liberal Party is now closer to a majority. So, will Canada stand strong moving forward? The old way of doing things is over, and along with our increase in defense spending, we need to build up our communities, more healthcare workers, improved infrastructure, affordable housing, good-paying jobs. But we don't need to demonize and deter immigrant workers who bring needed skills and contribute to the economy. But Smith and the cons just want to distract us from their failures. But the majority of Canadians, most of us see right through it. So elbows up. Fuck the separatists.
Hey, yeah, you. Before you click away to watch someone unbox a tactical toothbrush, let's talk about something real. Political Drain isn't just another content mill. We're a digital front in a very real war. Not with bullets, but with ideas, with action, and with solidarity. We pair urgent news with critical education. And we build community around actual resistance, not the hashtag kind. The kind that moves. But here's the thing. None of this is free. It isn't. Behind every video is time, labor, research, and some weird guy asking if we're going to pay the hosting bill. And yeah, some of that money goes to things we can't necessarily say out loud. If you know, you know. Let's just say our special ops aren't Call of Duty LARPers. They're people making real moves to protect, uplift, and organize. You're not just funding a channel. You're funding a resistance network in a world where capital still calls the shots. Unfortunately, in a system built on artificial scarcity, even mutual aid has a price tag. And if we want to grow, if we want to win, we need your help. We need your help. So if you've got even a few bucks to spare, toss it our way. It's not for ads. It's not for merch drops, but for people making moves in the shadows so others can do it in the light. It's just us and you. So fund the mission, fund the fight, fund the future, because nobody's coming to save us. We save each other. That's how this works.